Shippuden. So when he's already gotten his full training from Orochimaru, Orochimaru says, Christian, I have a mission for you. He says, what is it? He says, destroy the hidden grass village and the Hozuki. He says, destroy the Hozuki castle and seal all the documents in there. He goes, I'll just destroy it. There's no point in the documents. He goes, right, there is no point. He says, I hope you're not doing this just to get my... Actually, no. When he heads to Hozuki Castle, he stands right out there going, Hozuki Castle, huh? Guess I'll slaughter everybody in there. Then he goes and slaughters everybody in the Hozuki Castle until he finds Muli, whatever his name is. He goes for a celestial prison, but Christian jumps out of the way to left and then stabs him through the neck with his sword, saying, he doesn't stab him in the neck. He punches him in the face, knocking him down. He goes, Then all the prisoners jump at him, and also the security guards, and he goes, Chidori Stream! Killing them all instantly. Until it's fun to face Mui. He says, Sharingan! Then he says, Fire Style Dragon Flame Jutsu! And he beat him with a clap, killing him instantly. And then he says, without a scratch on him, he leaves. Returning back to Orochimaru, back at the Hidden Leaf Village, Naruto gets a message. The Hokage gets a message that the Hozuki Castle was destroyed, and everyone that was there died in it, even the prisoners. Every 5 villages, and it was Christian Uchiha who destroyed it. He says, it was Christian? He destroyed it? And killed everyone in it? She says, yes. Now you guys will go on a mission with you have 2 new recruits, Sai and Yamato. You will go there and you will get Sasuke back. You will try another attempt to get Sasuke back. Let's just say when Christian get Christian back. Christian's sleeping, going. But then Sai goes to seal him, but Christian puts him in a genjutsu and then appears behind him, stabbing him in the arm. He goes. But then that was all in the genjutsu. Then he disappeared. Then he's just laying down. He runs out scared to death. Naruto has his fight with Sai. But then he gets back. Then they meet him. Then he blows up the base, blowing up the base instantly. He goes, Naruto, Sakura, it's you. Then he goes and puts his armor on Naruto. Then goes for a neck chop and Naruto blocks. He says, bad thing I'm a clone. Then disappears. Then he says, heel dropping down. But then they're all gone. He says, great. Then he disappears himself. Sakura launches down a kick, hitting Naruto and Sai and Yamato instead. She goes, I'm so sorry. They're all knocked down, saying that kick really hurt. They get back up and he says, Sakura, attacking her own teammates, I see. Then he jumps up in the air. Then he disappears in front of them, saying, Chidori Stream! Throwing his sword down, then standing on top of it, going, Stream! Then defeating them, then launching them all back. Then he has a little brawl with Naruto. They clash fists going, Christian says, now it's my time. Then he activates it. He goes, Sharingan! Then the fight instantly turns in his favor. He spins a sword. He says, then he kicks him in the face. Then he kicks Naruto in the face, knocking him back. He goes, ugh. He says, then he turns around and slams his sword into the ground, saying, I didn't kill everyone in Hozuki Castle for nothing. Then he throws a sword, which he appears right next to, riding on it like a surfboard, then hitting Naruto with a lariat kind of, and goes, ugh, knocking Naruto down. Then he grabs his sword, going, ugh. Then he goes for a strong sword strike, but Sakura tries to block, but then she's cut in her hand. She goes, ah! Then he knocks her out with a kick. He says, then he instantly easily defeats Yamato and Sai. He says, Orochimaru. Then he puts up his hand, ready to do a Kirin to kill them, but Orochimaru stops and then they disappear. He goes, no! Let's just go into Naruto learning a new jutsu. And let's go into Christian. Or his Deidara. Christian says, then he wants to go find Itachi, but Deidara stops him. Christian says, well, I guess I'll kill you first. Then he throws 3 lightning shuriken in the air. Then says, Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, then Gigantify. Then they Gigantify into so many killing Datara with just those. Datara unlocks a super secret technique and blows up. Christian says, Chakra Barrier! Blocking himself from the attack, saying, not even close. Then he goes to kill Toby, but he phases through him, but then says, I'm above you. Sure. And punches him in the face, knocking him out, saying, weakling. Then he heads out, going. Then he goes and, well, actually, first thing first, he forms Team Heavy. Actually, no, he doesn't do that yet. I forgot, I'm so stupid. Well, after he defeats Datara, he kills Orochimaru, killing him instantly, and slicing off his head, then absorbing all of his power, saying, this power, yes! He says, oh, I'm not done yet, Itachi. He says, then he pulls out 20 scrolls that Itachi left him when he slaughtered the clan, puts them on his back, like in the little case thing, and goes and sits down, killing Kabuto as well. He thinks Kabuto's dead, and Kabuto just abandoned his base. And Christian sits in the room that Orochimaru was in, and reads all the scrolls, getting their powers, increasing his power by a lot. He says, he goes, let's just go into his fight with Itachi. He says, Itachi. And then he throws us. Then he fights Itachi going, he says, you're much stronger, little brother. A little too strong. Then he spins the sword, shocking Itachi, goes, ah! But then he moves his fingers to the left and sees the real Itachi, says, damn you! And goes for a stab, going, ah! But then Itachi dodges and then kicks him into a wall. Then he poofs into snakes. Then he says, I'm right behind you. Then cuts Itachi in the eye. He goes, ugh! Then he kicks Itachi into a wall himself. But then he gets his eye taken out, but that was all again jutsu. Then he activates the curse mark and his eye comes back. He goes, then he says, fire style dragon flame jutsu, shooting it up there. But then they have their shuriken clash going. Christian says, you may think you've won this, but then when he shows his next batch of shuriken, they're all lightning shuriken, so they beat Itachi, pinning him against the wall. Then he kicks Itachi in the back of the leg. He goes, urgh. Christian cuts his head off, but then Itachi turns into crows. He says, dang it! He says, what happens if I kill one of these crows? He kills one of the crows. Then Itachi's hand falls off, saying, that was my hand. Christian says he's at a disadvantage, but then his hand grows back. He says, then he activates his curse mark 2 stage, going, ah! Rushing at Itachi, going, barraging him with attacks, but he can't hit him. He says, but then he's stabbed by someone from behind. He goes, he says, that can't be Itachi, this is the real one. Then he looks behind him, saying, Kiyomi. She goes, this is payback. Then pushes it forward. He goes, ah! But then he says, nice try, Kiyomi, but that's not how things work. Then he poofs and kills Kiyomi for real this time, erasing her from existence, saying, and then Itachi reveals that she was a fake Uchiha. Christian says, that bitch. Then he kicks Itachi in the face, but then they get out of the Uchiha base when he blows the top of it off. Then they have their fireball clash. Christian goes, Katon, Gokakyu! Shooting it. Then Itachi does his Amaterasu. It's about beat Christian, but then he switches it, going, Majestic Destroy Flame! Making the fireball even bigger. Then he says, now. But then, a giant water wave comes behind Itachi and claps right on his head. He says, then he releases the fireball and says, water style, raging wave. Then Itachi is shocked by something. He says, also, lightning style, thunderclap. Then he shoots a fireball in the air, going, and then he does a thing. Then he says, with a thunderclap, be gone. Then hits Itachi with a Kirin, but Itachi activates his Susanoo. Christian's against the wall, going, no! Then his curse mark forges open. Then Orochimaru gets sealed by Itachi with his Totsuka blade. Christian says, fire style, majestic destroy a flame! Clashing with the Susanoo, cracking it. Itachi goes, then he puts 2 fingers on his head and goes, then he dies. Christian goes, as Christian passes out too, as he killed Itachi, doing his goal. Toby, Leaf also gets the news of Christian and Itachi's fight. Then they go after him, but they're stalled by Toby, and they get the news that Christian actually killed Itachi. Then he takes him in to where he is. Then he tells him the truth and he says, my new goal is to destroy the hidden leaf. Then activates his Mangekyo, awakening his Mangekyo. His is literally like a spiral in his eyes. You don't know, it's Sasuke's Mangekyo. We don't know the abilities yet. He does have a Matarasu. He also can slow people down. No one knows his weapon yet for the Susanoo. His also ability is to. But then he has a special Sharingan, a special one. His has literally all the abilities, which means, also he can phase through things like Kamui. He goes, He also wears the outfit that Sasuke wore going. Also, he gets the news that Naruto defeated Pain. He goes, cool, I don't care. Then dips. Then they go to the 5 Kage summit to kill Danzo. Then they do the little thing. Then Christian invades it, being at the top. He goes, no, actually, when he goes, the Raikage arrests him, going, you hurt B! Because I just didn't want to explain that they attacked B. He goes, Raikage goes for strike, but Suigetsu comes in front and blocks it with his executioner's blades, which snaps in half. He goes, dang it! Then Christian kicks the Raikage back in his base form. Then the Raikage goes for all 3 of them go for a super strong attack. Jugo tries to step in, but Christian says, stay back, Jugo. Then he activates his jet black Susanoo. His Susanoo is black. Then blocks the attack. Then his Susanoo arm comes and yeets and slams the Raikage against the ground. Then he also goes, Amaterasu! As he goes, burning the Raikage, and then his arm is cut off. Let's just go when he gets to the office. He's standing above with his Kusanagi sword, actually with his double bladed Uchiha swords, and then he pulls both of them out, saying, Then Danzo's running up, a Christian blade stabbing him through the chest. He goes, Pwah! He says, I have no business with you, Kage. I am only here for Danzo. They agree and don't stop him. He goes and then he finally chases Danzo to an area where all of his guys attack him and go for a punch, but they phase right through him. He goes, nice try, guys. Then he says, Amaterasu, killing them both. Then he stabs one. Then he fights Danzo, creating a Chidori blade, beating the crap out of Danzo, going. Then he goes right. Then he does his badass walk, going. I'm just itching to kill you. Then creates a Chidori blade, finally killing Danzo. blah, blah, blah. When Sakura arrives, she says, please, I'll go evil with you. Christian, then he goes to sit, and then he goes for Chidori on her. Kakashi grabs it. Christian says, great job, now you're dead. Then knees Kakashi in the stomach. But Kakashi didn't even get to dodge. Christian goes, Gah! He goes, Argh! As he kicks him down there. Then they have their battle. Christian's easily overpowering Kakashi, going, as he punches Kakashi, launching him back. He goes, Argh! Kakashi goes to punch him, but then he activates his Mangekyo Sharingan, and then Kakashi faces through him. He says, Kamui? Then he backflips, slams Kakashi. Then Naruto would arrive, and him and Naruto would have their duel. Christian says, fire style, great fireball. Naruto would go, wind style, Wasen, so again. Throwing Then Christian would catch. Christian would say, But then his thing would be cut in half. He goes, dang it. He's about to get hit with the wind style Rasen Shuriken. But then he catches it, saying, you really thought I was that dumb? Naruto goes, you caught the Rasen Shuriken? Then he blitzes towards Naruto, hitting him with his own jutsu, but adding Inferno style. Going, ah! Naruto goes, ah! Then he removes the flames. Then he says, with a thunderclap, be gone. Then defeats them all. They all go, ah! But then Naruto activates Sage Mode, and then the real fight begins. They go, they go, Christian goes, woo, woo, and then he punches Naruto, knocking the Sage Mode out of him. He goes, then he does his little speech thing. Then Christian would leave to go get Itachi's eyes. And that's it for this part. It's really hard doing this, put myself in Sasuke's place.